Lieutenant Scott Young with the MPD.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
What can I do for you?
I just had some questions on SWAT policy.
Okay.
What is like the typical gear of a SWAT team member?
Our typical guy on an entry is wearing a Kevlar bullet-resistant vest, a Kevlar helmet, some sort of eye protection, normally just clear glasses. A lot of the guys wear elbow and knee pads. We wear protective gloves. And generally, on an entry, the guys are armed with an MP5 submachine gun and a handgun as a sidearm. There will be a couple of people along that do not have the long guns. They just have pistols.
Right. Like normally they're
That'd be typical big entry gear. I mean, there's a lot of little stuff involved, but that's the big visible stuff.
What typical situations is SWAT used for?
Well, and again, I can't discuss this particular incident because it's still under review. But in general, SWAT teams exist to handle stuff, handle situations that are outside the normal patrol capability. That's why SWAT teams exist.
So, like an example.
Well, an active shooter, a hostage taking, in this case a high-risk search warrant or a high-risk fugitive apprehension. We use SWAT.
You know, I did ask for, like, if you have statistics on how often the SWAT team encounters resistance or how often they fire their weapons compared to be fired upon. Do you have any information on that?
I don't have that off the top of my head. It's very, very rare. We're just talking. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, I'm just going to go through that list. I mean, the next one is 2. What is policy for SWAT members who fire their weapons on active duty?
Absolutely. There's an investigation. Any shot that's fired outside of an intentional training environment gets reviewed. Gets investigated, and whether it's at a dog or at a human.
Sure.
It's going to be investigated.
Are the officers or SWAT members still allowed to be on active duty while those are conducted?
It would depend on the situation. In the cases in the past where we have had to shoot dogs, no, the officers stayed on duty, stayed on active duty during the investigation. Now, obviously, in the case of shooting at a human, we would put that officer on paid leave pending the outcome of the investigation.
Sure.
But in this case, and in the times in the past when we've shot dogs, the officer stayed at work.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about that, like hypothetically, obviously, like, what is the policy for? Like, I'm sure. Like a human needs to do something aggressive or life-threatening to a officer in order to. Right. But what is the qualifications for an animal?
Well, the standards are lower because, quite frankly, the odds of dying from a dog attack are relatively slim for a SWAT team member, but the odds of significant injury are pretty substantial. And so if we're faced with the choice of officer injury or shooting the dog, we're going to shoot the dog. Understand this is not the first dog we've killed?
No, I do understand that, actually. Okay. If you have a search warrant on my house, you shoot my dog, is there any accountability for that matter if you found that you didn't have to shoot my dog? Like, how do I...
That would be possibly a civil issue. I mean, if it's just determined that we were just out and out intentionally cruel, we could be criminally charged with animal cruelty, sure.
So again, I mean, just to step back for a minute, you think that men wearing such armor and gear can't at least let a dog jump at them before shooting a dog as policy?
Have you been seen somebody that's been chewed on by a dog that was good at it?
I mean, no, but I think the cases of how many dogs there are out there in the world that could do that.
And puncturing.
Can they puncture Kevlar?
We don't have Kevlar boots. We have Kevlar vests and Kevlar helmets. The boots are just leather.
Sure. I'm just. I mean, to me, it just seems that.
And the other thing, quite frankly, is that.
All right. Has the department or SWAT teams looked into any other alternatives to deter dogs besides lethal force?
Well, there's not much else out there. We have. On at least one occasion, we shot one with a less lethal round. Now, the problem with that is that you just can't hit a dog hard enough with a less lethal round.
Do you